The Manchester Select Board closed its public hearing on a proposed new zoning ordinance during its meeting held on Tuesday, April 3rd. The overhaul of the zoning regulations and a new district map that have been developed have been under consideration by the town's planning commission for nearly the past 2 years. Highlights of the proposed changes: the first comprehensive rewrite of the zoning ordinances since zoning was first adopted in Manchester back in the early 1970s, include an effort to encourage more residential housing in the downtown core and town center, and to protect open lands in the rural residential district while maintaining continued use of working lands for agricultural and forestry purposes. The Planning Commission hopes to encourage developers to construct more workforce housing in the town center and to encourage more clustered housing construction in rural areas to maintain an open landscape. At the meeting held on April 3rd, much of the dialogue between the public and the Select Board dealt with one provision that called for new construction on the downtown and town center zones to be 2 stories high. Another provision, aimed at encouraging more housing in the town core, would allow the maximum building height to increase by 5 feet, to a maximum of 40 feet. Another measure would allow for up to 10 dwelling units per acre in residential zones surrounding the town core. But the Select Board and the Planning Commission heard some pushback from some business developers about the second-story mandate in particular, who argued that requiring a new building in the downtown areas to include 2 stories was out of kilter with what the existing demand for new commercial space was at present.
The bottom line is the market dictates what they will do with the property. The problem is, as I think I articulated in my letter, is we have a very small marketplace here. This isn't Burlington, it isn't Brattleboro, and that limits the type of businesses that are going to be finding it attractive to build. And in my opinion, the 2-story mandate is really going to discourage a lot of those types of businesses from coming. I've been here 30 years, I've been in this business for 30 years. I've worked with a lot of people that look at properties, and I can tell you I've analyzed so many properties in the downtown core for mixed-use development. They never penciled out. And we looked at apartments, we looked at office space, and some of them in just the last 2 years. They just can't make it work financially. The property cost is just too high. And even though you can get some more units on it, you still have to defray that cost out for the units. Luxury apartments, maybe, but I haven't met a developer yet that wants to take that risk in this small marketplace. We've got
Todd Nebraska, a member of the Planning Commission, tried to counter that point of view.
Old ordinance, which only allows 4 residential units per acre, even in our downtown. And Bill Drunzik will tell you can't get it to pencil out, and he's one who's done it. We're looking at it through the lens of what the future is going to look like. And I can guarantee you that there are developers I've spoken with that are like, don't do anything to encourage any more retail development, because retail's, and this is not everyone, but retail is going to be bricks and mortar retail is going to be a thing of the past someday. And that the money is in actual residential development in our downtowns, and it's a mixed development where you have everything from 2-bedroom apartments or condos down to micro units that might be 350 to 500 square feet, all mixed in one building. And I can give you a list of developers that are doing that in small cities, all Bennington, Brattleboro, Keene, New Hampshire, Bellows Falls. They're doing it all over the place, and they're making money in those communities which don't have the economic opportunity that Manchester does.
Creation of a more pedestrian-friendly, dynamic downtown that's affordable for middle-income residents is one of the goals of the Planning Commission's work. Andrew MacArthur, a teacher at Burton Academy, spoke to this point with regard to making Manchester an attractive town for younger residents to live and work in.
We live in Saratoga Springs, and this is a different beast, right? But we live right downtown, and it's obviously a different community with different economic realities, but the fact that we could, own a little place and walk to local establishments, whether it be restaurants, bars, or shops, was really valuable. And I think that alone is extremely attractive to young people like ourselves, I have to say that with caution now.
So,
Penetration.
the only
Transition, but to younger professionals like ourselves, that is extremely attractive, and it just makes the town more marketable. People make decisions on where they live based on the livability of their communities now.
With the closing of the public hearing, the Select Board will likely discuss the proposed ordinance developed by the Planning Commission and the town's Planning and Zoning Director, Janet Hurley, at its next meeting scheduled for April 24th, and may take a vote on whether to approve it as is or to send it back to the Planning Commission for more work. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.